Welcome to Cue the Music Live. I'm Ralph, and this is my first live show doing Cue the Music, and I'm joined by Paolo of Jigowatts, David from the Vinyl Score, and Mark from Popcorn and Vinyl. Hey, fellas.
Hello.
Hey,
what an epic start.
Yeah, it's.
I know.
I mean, yeah, it's. I have a couple composer friends, and I really should talk to them about doing original music because I grabbed that from it's like.
I like the graphics. The graphics it reminded me like the IMAX intro.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like THX style. Yeah,
I was like,
it was locking me in.
Junk. It's all free junk. This show, the budget on the show is next to nothing.
We have similar budgets, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I've invested $100,000 in mine. So.
Yeah, money goes in. Money goes in.
So this is my first live episode on Cue the Music, and there's a reason why I picked you three to join me. And thank you so much for joining me this Friday the 13th. And the reason is simple. This was a podcast. Cue the Music was a podcast I did in 2007, and it was an audio podcast, and it was me just saying, "Hey, listen to this cue. I really like it." And then I would play the cue, and then it was not something that I revisit a lot, but. All three of you guys I follow on YouTube, and it was a long pandemic. It was a lot of quarantining, and that's when I started collecting vinyl. And so I found you guys separately, and then at some point I made it to your 2021 best vinyl episode. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I like vinyl a lot, and I don't talk about vinyl. And these guys are talking about film scores, and I love film scores. And I used to talk about film scores, but I don't anymore. So the reason why I asked you guys to join me is because that episode got me to start back up this podcast. And it's it's been great. There's not much to it yet. It's and I decided to do as a YouTube channel. There's not much to it just yet, but I have things in the hopper coming that I'll mention at the end of the episode. So those of you that are listening to this on the audio feed, you'll want to subscribe to the YouTube because I have a couple of interviews coming up that are already recorded, and you're not going to want to miss them. So I'll tease those at the end of the show. So if I don't, someone remind me so that I can make sure that info gets out there. So far, we have three people in the audience. One of them is my wife, Stevie. Very supportive. Okay, so first things first. I've been listening to film scores for 41 years now. When I was a kid, my mom bought me the Raiders of the Lost Ark soundtrack in 1981 because she wouldn't let me see the movie. She refused to let me. It's too violent. Mm-hmm. So she got me the tape on Columbia House, and I've been addicted to scores my entire life. I've only been addicted to vinyl for the last 2 years. We got a new record player during the pandemic, and that's when I started snatching up film score vinyls. Let's go around the horn. I want to hear your stories on how you got into film scores and also vinyl. You want to start with, how about David? We'll start with David.
Sure. For me, I have a similar start in some band movies, things like that. But, John Williams stuff when I was a kid, the Star Wars, Indiana Jones stuff electrified me. I've got a story I've told a few times about being homesick and seeing A New Hope for the first time. And by the time it got to the end, man, the music had just fired me up so much. I was just bouncing off the walls. And my dad was like, maybe it's time to go back to school. And that was probably true. But that's kind of where it started for me. I started collecting records at about 15. And I've got 25 years of buying records. But and that really started because at the time they were cheaper than CDs. And so, you've got $20, you're like, what am I going to do here? And that's kind of how it started. I would buy the occasional soundtrack and score. And I worked at a record store for a long time. And that's kind of where I started to pick up scores here and there. But for me, about 5 years ago, the whole dial turned for me a little bit away from other genres that I had spent a lot of time with. And I would blame some scores around that time, like the Westworld score really got me at that time. And I was like, is this on vinyl? And I was like, oh yeah, it is. And then I just started to do that a lot. Think about a movie or a TV show I liked, and I go, is that on vinyl? And I would go, oh yeah, it is, or it's not, whatever. But then I started to really pick up speed that way.
Do you have Westworld season 1 on vinyl?
I do.
Oh, that's a That's
an
expensive one.
I have the triple, the full triple, and then there's a couple of single disc versions out there, and I have one of those.
I think that's on Discogs for like 400.
It's a big one. It is a big one,
and it is a great score.
Yeah.
Mark, how about you?
I've told this story a few times, and I feel like it probably changes every time I tell it, or at least details of it changes. So who knows what the real one is? But more or less, I first kind of got into it with the Lion King soundtrack just when I was a kid, and I thought in my own brain, I'm like, oh, I like all the fun songs, but I always gravitated towards the score material, and I would skip past those songs, and I didn't even think about it. And then for some reason, I was a big Titanic enthusiast, and like not just the movie, but like the boat. I would like research it and did projects on it in school. So naturally, when the movie came out, like my parents' friends knew I liked the Titanic, so they bought me a cassette of the Titanic soundtrack. And I'm like, oh, I don't want Celine Dion. But then again, I started listening to Take Her to See Mr. Murdoch, and that kind of that really tickled something inside of me. And then where it really kind of hit was kind of like 98. I think around 98, 99 is when I started to become like a big like cinema guy, and that's when DVDs started coming out, or maybe I don't know if DVDs were coming out yet, but like I remember I got the Jurassic Park like double cassette, and it had like bonus features, and I just got crazy about everything to do with film and production. And then all the hype up to like Star Wars Episode 1, I got really into the Star Wars soundtracks, and like Duel of the Fates came out, and I'm like, this is what I like. So kind of from there, I became just a soundtrack listener.
I remember the first CD I ever bought was at a Licorice Pizza in Downey, California, and it was the soundtrack to Back to the Future, because I liked Huey Lewis. Like, who didn't like Huey Lewis? But I started playing out the Alan Silvestri. There was 2 Qs, I believe, on that album, and those became my favorite. And that kind of is what pushed me over the edge. And then in '89, Batman and Danny Elfman just kind of threw me in a tailspin. What about vinyl specifically? Yeah,
so like I collected other genres of vinyl, and probably maybe a little bit similar to David. Like, I didn't really have a lot of soundtracks. I actively didn't get soundtracks on vinyl. I would just get the CDs because they usually would be extended and longer and that sort of thing. And I think around the time that I sort of discovered Mondo is when it kind of clicked. I'm like, this is cool. So the very first like Mondo thing that even came on my radar was the liquid filled record. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But for some reason, it never occurred to me that I actually could buy it. It just was this foreign thing that I don't think I could ever get. But then I forget, it was either Jurassic Park or Mission Impossible. And when one of those came out, I finally like ordered that from Mondo, and then I was just suckered in, and then started getting everything I could get my hands on.
Did any of you guys get your hands on the Scrooged liquid vinyl?
No.
Did you guys
I don't have a liquid or anything filled.
Yeah.
That's kind of a I would love to get anything in that variant style.
They went fast, and this is kind of a messed up story. So I got my hands on one, and I want to say it was like $180 or something, all said and done. And I was like, awesome, I got it. It's too late. I purchased it. I love Danny Elfman. I like the score to Scrooged. I don't have a liquid vinyl. This is very interesting. And then later in the week, my transmission went out, and I cannot work without my car. And I'm like, I can't justify having this. And I know it's jacked up because they sold out in like a minute, and I can't cancel this. This is awful. But I can't justify $180. So I sent them the email, and I felt so bad. And I'm like, I was like, you know what? Someone's going to end up with this
Yeah.
this thing. I know they're handmade, and I know they're going to make it. They're just not going to send it to me. Enjoy the Tunes is going to be able to, I don't know, put it on eBay. They're gonna be able to sell it. And then I got an email back from him. And it's like, just so you know, these are handmade and they're very difficult to produce, and like kind of making me feel bad. Like they sat me down on my bed and was like, okay, we're a little disappointed in you that you committed to this thing and then you're backing out. And I felt like complete shit. I felt so awful, and I still feel awful. And I want to write him back and be like, how about now? You can. I felt, oh my gosh, I just feel like a complete a-hole, especially since someone tried to buy it. I hope it finds a home, but I still don't have a liquid vinyl, and that would have been perfect now that I have the show and I've been doing unboxings. I just absolutely feel awful. So if anybody from Enjoy the Tunes,
enjoy the ride and enjoy the tunes.
Yeah.
They're kind of both halves of their company.
Yeah, I feel super, super, super awful about that. And I feel like I needed to exercise that.
Yeah, I'm sure they forgive you. I'm sure they forgive you.
So.
I bet they do.
I really feel bad. Paolo, how about you?
A couple of things. Mark, Titanic. Did you ever did the puzzle 3D of Titanic? Because I built that.
No, I wanted to
puzzle?
get that. There was those
really- I had
3D
it.
puzzles. Yeah, I wanted that,
Yeah.
but no, I had like just a kit model that I actually made.
That was a really cool build. All right, sorry. To the question. I was first a fan. I actually didn't discover film score until my late teenage years, but I was always a fan of movies. Like I wanted to be a film director when I grew up. I was obsessed. I wanted to be Spielberg. So I knew all of that. But for some reason, I was just way more focused on pop music, rock and roll. You know, I can go on and on, but like all the things. And then somehow, I think, well, my mom started listening to, you guys know the new age artist Johnny,
Yeah.
Yeah,
who has like the hair, he's like
Yeah.
Fabio, but for music. So he started listening to his album, and I remember like, man, I really enjoy like instrumental stuff, but it might not be this, but I'm digging like hearing instruments that I don't hear in popular music. And then somehow I connected with a Boston Pop greatest hits, John Williams Boston Pop. And it was like this like aha moment, because all the films I've been obsessed with, it was all there. And it was like, oh my God, this guy's a god. It's all the things that I love. And it's not like I didn't know who he was. I don't know. It was just this aha moment, but it was a very big aha moment, because then I decided I want to be a film composer. I'm going to go to study film music and try to be a composer. And I did that for 2 years, and it was very tough. And I was like, I don't think I can feed myself. Like, I don't think my music's that good to like feed myself. So I went in a different path, but still throughout, I just kept on, went down that film score rabbit hole. And then vinyl came up so I live in Los Angeles, and when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't know anyone. So I would go to Amoeba, the record store here. It's a gigantic record store. It's insane. And I would just go there and spend my Fridays just like digging through soundtracks and all that stuff. And one day I like in the back, they had a vinyl section. I'm like, oh, I don't know, let me check that out. And I stumble upon a music on vinyl release of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes by Malcolm Giacchino.
Mhm.
And I don't know what, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Look at the size of this. This is, I didn't even know about the variant or anything. I was just like, it looks like a laser disc, which I always loved, that size of things. But the soundtrack, which is what I love. So I was like, this is my thing. I bought it. I didn't have a record player or anything. I was just like, I'll figure it out, but I have to have this. I get home, I open it, and it has like this sick gray, colorway. And I was like, holy shit, they even do all those things. So that was like my inception to it. And really after that, I discovered both Mondo and Waxwork. It was like this 1-2 punch. That was like, oh shit, I'm in for this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, when the pandemic started, I started getting into Waxworks and Mondo, and I was done, because I've been listening to film scores, so that's what they do.
Yeah,
and so they're kind of a.
And I honestly first started with vinyl on the appreciation of like the packaging and the collector ability. Like I would really geek out about who did the artwork and what take did they do, and colorways, yeah, but not so much. It's just like just the everything. Like I really like love just holding it. And then I really started discovering what the format offers as a music experience. And I felt like I really was like, oh, this is really fun. Like no skips, whole album, like it's a whole different experience. And I really didn't even enter looking for that. And I found in the streaming age, man, I really also enjoyed this experience sometimes. So now I appreciate it more for the music experience rather than that. So it's kind of like a journey, and so yeah.
So for me, I really got into it around 89 Batman. My sister had the Beetlejuice soundtrack because she liked the Harry Belafonte songs. And once she was done with it, I grabbed it and would listen to the Elfman songs. And then when Batman came out and I saw Danny Elfman's name on the screen, I was like over the moon. I still consider Danny Elfman my favorite, just because he was the guy that got me into it. So for you, Paolo is like Giacchino, like your guy is, and then Mark is Zimmer your guy. Like how are these?
John Williams will be my North Star forever, but I honestly like all over. There's so many. Giacchino I really like, but maybe top 10 or not. I mean, because he is similar, but I mean, I can just go like, to me, what really got me into film music, the like Mount Rushmore, if I would have to say, for my era, were 90s composers and 80s. So Silvestri, James Horner, Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, and Danny Elfman. Like those and maybe a James Newton Howard also there. A couple places. Yeah. Those really were.
You're expanding. You're expanding Rushmore, but totally.
Yeah, and then
all those guys.
Then,
how do you pick?
That was like the first tier. Second tier was Bernard Herrmann, Ennio Morricone, Thomas Newman, just more sort of like other areas. And I mean, Max Stein, a lot of the old ones, Korngold. And now also tier 3 would be the Clean Mansel's, the sort of like what's new or what's a different, I first started with the orchestra, and that's what, at the end of the day, that's how I really enjoy about soundtracks. Soundtrack, it's like, it's nothing, it's everything. It could be a jazz score, it could be a score about percussion only, like Birdman, just drums,
right?
And you kind of like, it leads you like, oh, Birdman, so that was the drummer for Pat Metheny. Oh, like, let me check out. Like, it's kind of like this gateway into like every music if you really, if you really explore beyond sort of like the orchestra blockbuster thing. Like it doesn't make it justice to say soundtrack is just orchestral music on films.
Yeah. Mark, do you have a Rushmore?
My Mount Rushmore, and the number 1 spot changes, but Zimmer, Williams, Goldsmith, and Horner. Very, very easy top 4 pick for me.
Yeah, I forgot Zimmer, probably my second composer, to be honest. Like in terms of the amount of music I listen to.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I'm not a fan of Hans Zimmer.
That's fine.
But that isn't to say that I there's some things that I really enjoy of his. I think his Man of Steel theme is incredible. I think the music for Blade Runner 2049 is great. I just am very selective on what I like. It's just not as broad of a blanket of me liking him. I'm really interested in this Top Gun score coming out.
Yeah, I am too. I'm interested to see and hear that for sure.
It's an interesting group of people they have working on it, because it's Harold Faltermeyer who did the original. It's Hans Zimmer, it's Lauren Balfe, and Lady Gaga. And I want to say that they took Lady Gaga's song and injected it into the score, much like John Barry would do for the Bonds.
That's cool, yeah.
So
I'd be very curious about sort of the percentage of each person's contribution in that mix. And I'm curious if that will be sort of audible as you're kind of, because I'm super pumped about that movie. Like that's probably the movie for this year that I'm most excited for.
Because the director Joseph Kosinski also did Tron Legacy, and he had Daft Punk do the score for that, which was, an interesting choice. And I
pretty okay score.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah. David, what about you? You have a Mount Rushmore?
I suck
there's
at
too
that
many
kind of
composers.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's like I'm a person of passions, and I'll follow a weird direction that I just land on. And so for a while, like this last year feels very Ennio Morricone, like just stuff I've been coming across and like totally like just happening upon random scores of his, nothing, things I'd never heard of before. But I John Williams for sure, is on that list. But I don't know that I listen to John Williams as much as some of these other guys do, or other fans I know out there. I mean, I've got the big ones I listen to, but I consider him to be like maybe a gold standard and one of the reasons that like awoke my brain in that way. But I'm not necessarily listening to Hook as much as these guys are. But I have a weirder side too that we mentioned. You're getting a little bit closer with Blade Runner 49, but like, Vangelis side of me, the electronic, I really like that disaster piece, It Follows, from a few years ago. I like Michael Levy. Like there are people like that I really like, but then, dang, I was just thinking we were talking how much of a banger Michael Kamen's Robin Hood Prince of Thieves is for me. Like that's like a solid moment in my life. Like that score means a ton to me. Same with like Willow or something like that. Those are the kinds of things that would. So Rushmore is a little bit hard for me.
I mean, you probably, the thing is you would say like John Williams easily, but it seems like such a basic answer that it almost feels like a throwaway. It feels like, everyone's going to say Williams.
And it's not meant to undermine. I think the guy, he's killed it for years. Years. But like, it would be like him, Goldsmith, but like, do I put Vangelis on there when he's done like, less than 6 or something? It's like, it's hard to say that. But like 3 of those are things I listen to twice a week, I listen to those a lot. So, I'm kind of, like I said, like a phase too. I might work my way out of that. And then I'll be like, I was on a Newton Howard kick for forever. And I just kind of wind around like that.
Nightcrawler, was that part of that kick?
Yes.
Nightcrawler.
Yes. And that one actually really confused me. Because I really liked that movie. Excuse me. I really responded to that movie. It's my kind of weird. And I was just like, what is going on here? And then the score was kind of like, I don't know.
Chameleon.
Miami Vice-y, like there's weird elements going on in there. And I was like, what's going on with that? And I listened to it a lot later. And then I was like, who else? It's like, oh my gosh, this guy's done so much. You can always go back and go that route.
He did Collateral too, right? The movie Collateral with Tom Cruise.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know if he did that one. I mean, I can go on and on. James Newton Howard. I mean, The Fugitive also is like.
That's where I first discovered him as The
Fugitive. He's a little underrated to me. Like because he's a part of like these big banger blockbusters that he doesn't quite have the name recognition that some of the others do. I don't think.
Right. His vinyl library is very small. He doesn't have a lot of vinyl out there. I think like maybe the second Hunger Games may have a vinyl release, and then he's the Fantastic Beasts. Fantastic Beasts.
I bought the first one and then not even considered anything else. The first one was nice, and then the other movies was just so bad. I don't like to talk bad about movies, but that second one, like I saw it twice, cannot tell you the plot. I have no idea what happens.
Waxworks put out a really nice Unbreakable vinyl.
I have that set,
which is one of my favorite of his scores. And I guess I was talking to a friend of mine who worked with James Newton Howard, and he was saying that he liked doing M. Night's movies because M. Night gave him 0 notes. He had full reign of those films. So I mean, whatever you think of those movies are, the scores are phenomenal. Like I'm itching for more of those showing up on vinyl, especially The Village and Lady in the Water. I think those scores are phenomenal to listen to.
The Village is among my. I think might be my favorite of
Signs.
His.
Signs would be fantastic.
Boris put out The Sixth Sense.
I have that. I have Unbreakable from Waxworks, and I And then At the Movies put out Red Sparrow, which it's a pretty good score.
I have the
but the
Nightcrawler
overture. Oh yeah,
I need that one. It's on my
I remember
list.
I got it UK shipping, so that was like the first time that was my first international shipping
It's
for something.
important
I was like, man, the record is 25, the shipping is like $30. But I was like, I gotta have it.
Welcome to my life every time because being in Canada, U.S. shipments are international, but then so is everything from Europe or Japan or wherever. So there's not really any Canadian labels for soundtracks. So either way, I'm paying like double.
By the way, I just want to throw out Stevie on the chat. The Village is on the sleep playlist. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. I'm curious what other if you have a sleep.
Ooh.
I know David has.
I do have some.
My sleep playlist is violent. It's filled with nasty things.
I do have Vangelis. I have Memories of Green on there, and I have Rachel's song from Blade Runner. Those are on the sleep list.
Yeah,
I have some Lady in the Water. I think closing credits. There's a couple of Village tracks, not the scary ones, but it's sort of my sleep mix it's just something that kind of puts me in this sort of a headspace at a real nice even thing. And there's certain ones where as soon as it plays, it's like a Pavlovian response where she's just out like a light. And Memories of Green is one of them. Usually around there, she conks out. But I love it. And I'm afraid to get the record and just pop it on like in the middle of the day and just have her pass out. Like
it's like we become puppies. Like listening to it, you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's like since collecting vinyl, I realized how little vinyl is out there. Like there's a lot, which is nice. Like thanks to Mondo and Waxworks, and then finding older stuff is always nice to do because we went to Amoeba recently, and I picked up this, but there's so much more I want. But I want to show you this because I got this recently at Amoeba, and this is, this old art style, I love it, and I like that the Mondo Mission Impossibles are kind of have a similar sort of style.
I think that's what
I think Moshe Shafiq is describing this. No, Mark, I don't know if yours has this slip sleeve in it. Does yours have the United Artists Records slip sleeve?
Maybe. I don't. Let me take a look here. One sec.
She got this design. This is nuts.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like this. I've never seen anything like this, and it's like Qbert. The whole game Qbert. Exactly. I don't know which is up and which is down.
It reminds me of that new Queen's Gambit that's going to come out from Mondo too, that has an optical illusion about the cube.
Remember that Fat in the Night? I don't know if it was in the 90s or some, but it was like these images that were like encoded in some like illusion, something where you had to like put it really close to your eyes and then back away.
Oh, the magic eye.
Magic eye.
In order to like get what it was. I was like,
like in Mallrats. I think the Mallrats CD had that as the cover.
Yeah, it does. That's totally true.
Yeah.
What's the verdict here, Mark? I'm on pins and needles.
You're
on mute. You're on mute, bud. But I saw I saw the anger.
No. I got this from just a guy off Facebook Marketplace, and no inner sleeve whatsoever.
He kept the inner sleeve and just sent you. He was like, I like it too much.
Hey, it could be different in Canada though, too. Maybe
it might be.
It could be an import version for that version. You could have the rarest variant, Mark.
I might. It is a Canadian pressing, so they pressed a ton of vinyl here back in the day.
Yeah. But there is a lot of you were talking about things that are not available. Like I have a ton of 90s things that I would love to see on vinyl. If the Fugitive on vinyl, I take that. Patriot Games, I would take that. Like there's just a ton of things.
Another Jason Nugent Howard score, Dave.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see a vinyl release of Dave. I don't know. That's very
dude. It might happen. This is
one of my favorite James Newton Howard scores is The Interpreter.
Yeah, that's the Nicole
Kidman one.
Sean Penn.
I love it.
Movie.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever show up on, but there's no way it'd ever show up on vinyl. And I think one of the things I like is like like Terror Vision puts out good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mondo puts out good stuff, and so does Waxworks and some of these other companies at the movies. But it seems like a lot of them focus more towards horror films and stuff like that. Like you don't you get into like sort of genre stuff like superhero stuff. And I wish there was a company out there that just did.
If La La Land or Entrada or one of those, if they really leaned into the vinyl side, but the way I kind of see them maneuvering the marketplace, it seems like they're letting these other labels pick up some of those licenses, and they're just really focusing on the digital or CD versions.
Right.
But they focus on, like, they'll do an expanded release. I just got one of Alien 3 or like in Waterworld and a few things like that are really in depth, but I don't know that Waterworld would come out on vinyl. Yeah, Jumanji.
I would love Waterworld on vinyl. I kind of feel like they need to start jumping on these anniversaries. Like we just passed, I think, the 20th anniversary of The Rocketeer.
Ooh.
And yeah, that's a banger.
Why wouldn't Disney Emporium celebrate that? I mean, even
what doesn't help is these delays. I mean, I think the pre-order stuff works okay, but I think do you miss out on some of that buy now anniversary stuff when it's always a pre-order? I don't know.
But can you imagine like a Mondo putting out a Rocketeer anniversary with like a gold record?
Yeah, perfect.
Or like
perfect choice.
Like it lends itself. Like people are, even if it's just people buying for the secondary market to flip them, I still feel like it should be out there. I mean, the Rocketeer is huge.
They must have such a long list, wish list, from their team internally, from people in comment sections, that all these titles, it just goes on some list, I'm sure, somewhere, and maybe one day it'll see the light of day. But there's a ton to release.
Yeah. Well, and I know one of the Mondo happy hours that they used to do a live stream kind of like this, and they would talk about the process. And he was like, well, we have the big whiteboard, and it has all the things that we want to do on it. And then they described the process of, like, I think it was Fight Club, and the amount of people that needed to approve it was pretty surprising. And they were like, we decided not to have Brad Pitt's face on it because that would mean Brad Pitt's people would have to be another level of approval, and like those, like, and I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Cause like, why wouldn't you use the movie poster? Well, these are one of the reasons why. It's cause like you remove some of those licensure barriers, when you do that.
Yeah. I've just to add to the conversation, I actually wanted to release a record on vinyl. That was a score. I'll say it. It was a score for The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Returns. It's a straight to Blu-ray animated film. I actually made a video about this. It's a score that I just think it's really good. But I went cold calling emails because obviously I have zero connections to that, and it was like Water Tower Music. And I went through a lot of chains to finally get sort of like, here are the prices, here everything. And I remember I did the math, and it was basically even. Like it's an expensive thing. And when I went through that experience, my stance on this is like, I always give them the benefit of the doubt. If it's not available, there has to be like a reason, or stuff. And one of the things you mentioned was the horror soundtracks, and how like why that's something I initially thought, like, why is like this niche horror thing that, I mean, even I, who love film, have never even heard of this. This will sell out in a second, like 500 or 1,000 copies, but maybe probably getting the rights to that was a lot easier, because kind of like I've heard a lot of stories where like, you want the rights for this on vinyl? Sure, okay. Versus like what I was trying to do, I was trying to get a Batman character, and my train of thought is, this is like a happy medium. It's Batman, that's an IP by itself, so there could be people who just buy it because they collect everything Batman, and I piggyback of that. And also, it's not obviously Batman 89, because that's impossible for unless you are a Mondo or on a very established record label. So I was trying to find the happy medium, but I'd be curious, like something like The Rocketeer is just like, I would think that's like a nudge below, because I think the music of that is really great. and there is some fandom, but doesn't have like, I don't know, like an IP that's like really modern stuff like that. So,
but what I feel like a lot of the thing with the Rocketeers, there's fans out there. There's definitely Rocketeers fans. So as soon as they put it up, everyone's going to come out of the woodwork.
I hope so. That will be my hope too. But
so I just want to mention this real quick because I said I would do it, and this seems like a good time. I'm not a horror guy. I'm not into horror movies. Never was. I liked action movies, comedies growing up. This was gifted to me. This was gifted to me about a year and a half ago. Sold out today. They did Waxwork did a bunch of repressings of Friday the 13th, part 1, 2, and 3. And this is the only one that sold out was part 2. I've never opened it, and I want to see what the colorway is. Yeah, I thought about selling it, but that's stupid because it was a gift to me. So why would I do that? So I'm going to rip this open now.
You never know. This could be the record that gets you hooked on the horror path.
Well, yeah, I only saw Friday the 13th for the first time last Halloween. I'm just not. I grew up in the 80s, and I never was into horror ever.
Number 2, the one you're opening, was a big late night mainstay with a group of friends of mine. We watched this one in particular a ton.
Yeah,
I love horror movies growing up, but the music I didn't listen like a separate experience from. Like I like the movie, and I like the music.
Better.
But yeah, that lost its shine there. There's Pamela. There's the mom in the background. It's a beautiful cover. I love this one.
I haven't seen the gatefold.
This is the rare sack face Jason era. Okay, this is before the hockey mask when he just wears this creepy sack with an eye hole.
Yeah, that's great art. Okay, I'm gonna pop out this colorway.
The suspense is killing me.
I'm assuming it's like the denim blue, or I think the one they put out today was
sack with holes.
It was I think it was
it's a sweater. It's supposed to be the mother's sweater with blood splatter is kind of the most typical. There you go. That's it.
It's pretty nice.
That's it.
So there you go. I'm gonna have to listen to this now, and it's got like a barbed wire sack. So
that is, I'm owning the horror market here of this live show. That's
I have some.
That's a hole that Jason stabs with a spear through a mattress.
While the two folks are
they're
hugging.
They are. They're trying to love, and Jason hates love.
Yeah.
I love both scores. Michael Abes has done for Get Out and Us. Those horror scores I really love.
Is he doing
the Waxwork Records?
Yeah, that was my next question.
See, I'm not a big horror guy, and again, like kind of like we alluded to with the Mount Rushmore, I'm like a very basic bitch when it comes to certain soundtracks and composers. So a horror one that I absolutely love and would love to see on vinyl is The Ring by Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
And I think there's enough fans of that. And I just remember hearing that music and I thought, wow, this is so different than what he normally does. And I remember I was at work one time. I was working the night shift in a grocery store, and I had that playing on my whatever music player was probably iPod, discontinued iPod at the time. But I like walked into this dark area and the music just like really slammed and it scared the shit out of me. Like I had to like take my headphones off because I thought, somebody was coming out of the wall. But that one was good. It was like
that's the thing. That's one of the problems I have. I have problems with listening to like The Village and Lady in the Water. Is there's a couple of jump scare moments in the scores that gets me every time. I think Michael Giacchino's score to, or his theme for the Riddler, in the Batman score has like a jump scare in it, and we listened to it the first time when Water Tower released it on YouTube for the first time, and we're sitting here listening to it, and that jump scare moment went off the same time as like a car alarm outside, and we were sitting on the couch. Me and my wife jumped, the cats jumped, and I don't care for that.
Not a jump scare fan.
Yeah,
it's I was gonna say, speaking of horror and Michael Giacchino, maybe because you might like this, because I like this. Let Me In, that remake, he
Right.
did the score. And he doesn't have a lot of horror soundtracks that I know of, but that one's pretty cool. It's on the melodical side. So you might get a kick out of that.
Yeah, horror is an interesting genre because I think there are multiple ways you can go at it. There's, you can do the real orchestral route. There's lots of modern electronic routes. But sometimes you get people like Zimmer Giacchino doing getting an opportunity to do a style they don't do a lot. I don't know.
Right. I like classics. I like Bernard Herrmann's Psycho score.
Yeah.
I really like Bernard Herrmann. Vertigo's great. One of my favorites is Beneath the 12-Mile Reef, which was a Film Score Monthly did a release on CD back in the late 90s. And that's a score I absolutely love and wish that it would be released on vinyl. And I don't know how there's no company out there right now that would release something from like the mid 60s that's nobody's ever heard of. Because who's heard of Beneath the 12-Mile Reef? I think
I don't
that's
know
why.
about on vinyl, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I mean, Ennio Morricone gets some of his stuff released, and I'm like, I've never heard of this, but he has like
That's,
500 credits. But
at the movies or music on vinyl, they love him. They're always releasing stuff by him.
There's also a weird label, Dago Red, from overseas. It might be truly Italian, but they'll come up with all sorts of random titles, and they've been putting out a couple a year for Record Store Day or Black Friday and things like that.
That's the thing. I feel like Morricone has, same with horror, like he has a fan base. They're so passionate, like whatever will be released, like they'll show up. They're there for that record. Because again, his filmography is so extensive. I doubt everyone's like, yeah, I was waiting for that. It's just like, oh, Ennio Morricone, I know what I'm in for. I'm like, let's explore sounds, like it's I'm on board.
Yeah. Is there anything coming up that you guys are excited about? Any new releases? I know Waxwork and Mondo are killing me with these monthly Toho releases. I love Godzilla and I love Toho. I did a podcast for 4 years with Jorge Garcia from Lost. We're both fans of Godzilla and stuff. And I'm like, hey, you want to do a podcast with me? He's like, yeah, sure. It ended up being 4 years long, 104 episodes, 10 bonus episodes. And these Waxworks and that box set is nuts.
It looks beautiful. I'm not a big fan. I don't know enough about it, but I see the pure expression of love and enjoyment that happens for everybody who's into it. And but yeah, if that's what you're into right now, there's a lot happening in that vein.
They're each releasing monthly. I think I have 2. I'm waiting for 2 from Waxwork, War of the Gargantuas, and what's the other one? King Kong Escapes. And then Mondo's doing great because they're waiting to get their stock in before they put it up for sale. So I got Space Amoeba and Godzilla Returns and the new Mothra, Rebirth of Mothra, all like within a week of me purchasing it, which is just like unheard of. And then they have, this is going to be a tease. They have another Toho coming up, and the artwork is by Henry Abrams, who did the Return of the Godzilla. He did Michael Giacchino's Travelogue, and he did Midnight Society and the Batman. He's going to be on the show. I interviewed him to talk about his next Toho cover. It's fucking amazing.
He's really good.
I'm not going to say what the movie is, but if you look on the back of your Mondo Obi strips, it's one of those. And we talk about it. I've seen it. And so the day that Mondo announces that record, I will post that interview with Henry. So look forward to that. But is there anything coming down the pipeline that you guys are excited about? I mean, Top Gun. Maybe we'll get a release, a vinyl release. I feel like Lady Gaga fans would
yeah, I bet it will too.
Jump to get that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that
I'm always bad with upcoming vinyls. Like I really don't know. Like they always catch me by surprise. I feel like I just follow record labels and then just wait, sort of patiently wait, and then they announce something. You're like, yeah, I'm buying that.
I'm sitting on like 5 pre-orders.
All right.
I feel-
Oh well, yeah.
What pre-orders are people sitting on here?
I'm sitting on the Batman, which I got the Mondo exclusive swirl, which apparently is a big deal. People are trying to sell that right now for $400 on eBay. I'm going to pop it open right here on the show because I don't care about, I just want to listen to the music. And since I'm new to vinyl, I'm not really sure about like color vinyl versus black vinyl. I know it's more pure for vinyl collectors to get it in black. I'm not, my setup's really simple. I just like listening to it. I'm sure my sound could be better. I'm sure everything could be better, but
Sounds like you're doing it perfect. You're doing it perfect then.
Yeah, I have War of the Gargantuas, King Kong Escapes. I'm after the show, I'll probably order Doctor Strange, Elfman's Doctor Strange 2, which I thought was great. I'll listen to anything Elfman. And then I have holy shit. Okay, so in November 2021, I pre-ordered for my wife from I Am 8-Bit. I pre-ordered Gravity Falls. And it took them over a year.
Yeah.
After I had already pre-ordered it, it took them over a year to say, okay, we have final approval on the artwork. And I was like, that's the first thing you're supposed to do in your process, dudes. Like, what are you doing? So I have that as a pre-order. And then I have one more also from I Am 8-Bit. And is the Muppet movie soundtrack.
I saw that new version.
Yeah. So those are my pipeline. And I should have what do you got there?
I Am 8-Bit. This took me 2 years to get. This is the Sea of Thieves.
Wow.
That's a video game. It's it honestly it was worth the wait. It is really gorgeous. And also the cool thing about this, it's not available neither on CD or streaming. Streaming, they did something really annoying where it's like every track is an individual album. So you would have to create a playlist to listen to like an album experience. So for this video game, this is the only way to listen like an actual album. And yeah, I pre-ordered this in August 2020. I think. I hope I'm not mistaken. And I'm not adding just a year. It was August for sure, but I think it was 2020 and not 2021.
Yeah. I'm pretty light on pre-orders right now. I just got back from a trip and so like for the beginning of the year, I kind of kept myself under control and happily like so the things that were coming out weren't necessarily things that make me go crazy. So like I was like, oh, the things we get announced. I'm like, phew, thank goodness. I don't need that badly. But I have that. I'm a big Dune fan in general. Both the Lynch version and the new version. I like that world. So I've got that new Zimmer, the full score on pre-order. I have still. I mentioned it earlier that Queen's Gambit has been on pre-order from Mondo since October-ish or something like that. Otherwise, I'm part of the Waxworks subscriber list, and they just told me that the last two for that are coming here in June, which I think is like Killer Clowns from Outer Space and something else that I'm not as familiar with. But that was just part of the group, so I'm kind of light right now. I have Power of the Dog by Johnny Greenwood. That's coming at some point, and I just like 2 days ago got Spencer from Johnny Greenwood too. So I'm getting like all my Johnny Greenwoods from last year this month.
Mark, you got anything in the hopper?
Well, I wrote these down in case I asked this question. So the Batman, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, which I'm very excited for with the slipcase. I'm very easily pleased and amused. And by giving me a little piece of cardboard, I'm extremely excited for the low cost of
I wanted to get that slipcase. I already have Mission Impossible 1, and I would like Mission Impossible 3 and 4. And part 2. I don't know.
How can you about part 2? What are your feelings?
Listen, it's just it's a hang up. And I feel bad because I know that you like Hans Zimmer so much, and it's
everybody
just
has
one of my things.
Their low points.
It's one of my things. But yeah, that slipcase, I'm like, oh man, those records look so cool, and I didn't get the slipcase.
I will say, in defense of Mission Impossible 2, the expanded version makes it feel far more cohesive, and it's a much greater experience. The old soundtrack that's been available for forever, it feels very disjointed, and I think the expanded one adds a lot to that. So, but that's
I feel
fair.
that way about Batman v Superman. Like, I think the expanded version of the film is much better, and I like the score that Zimmer did with Junkie XL on it. And I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, Mission Impossible. Very, very excited, and I love Giacchino's scores. I love all of the Mission Impossible. I try to rank them all the time in my head, and I can't because it changes depending on mood.
You don't have a number one?
No, I don't. I think it's either Rogue Nation or maybe Ghost Protocol, or maybe 3.
When you say this, are you ranking just the scores, or are you ranking the movies?
Just the scores.
Okay.
Just the scores.
I love
I just said
Elfman's.
half of the franchise.
I know, but it's so hard to choose.
Yeah.
I love Elfman's.
Yeah, that's my favorite. The
yeah,
first one.
I love it.
I love it. And the fact that he wrote that in 4 weeks or something, because Silvestri's
he was
score
the
got
original's composer
rejected.
was
pretty
rejected, and he came in like 3 weeks or something, wrote it from
Yeah.
like higher
Have you heard-
finish.
Have you heard the Silvestri score?
Yes,
It's pretty bad.
sort of. Yeah. So the Silvestri score, apparently he put a lot of that stuff from Mission Impossible into Eraser.
Yeah.
So if you get the La La Land put out an expanded Eraser score, which you would, if you listen to that, doesn't sound like Mission Impossible. Danny Elfman knocked it out of the park.
He did.
I'm gonna say something maybe controversial here.
Oh,
Besides, like, the Avengers theme song, I don't know that there's anything from Silvestri that I've enjoyed this millennium. I Back to the Future is huge for me, but tell me something past 2000 that I should care about.
I got one. I got one.
I'm ready. Everybody dish it.
The Mummy Returns.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
The fact that we thought of the same one, Paolo, did you have one?
I mean, I'm sure I'm looking at my catalog of Alan Silvestri because I'm sure there has to be.
you.
I'm not trying to besmirch a
No,
guy.
I know what you mean.
It's beautiful
Captain
music.
America
Yes,
score.
yes, I have a couple,
Okay.
a lot actually.
Uh-oh.
I love
Good.
his score.
Let me
I
get
love
my
his
pen.
score. I love his score for The Walk. I actually have it.
Okay.
Is that Is that about stir fry?
I can never find a record.
No,
Good.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with The Walk. Is that
The Walk. That was the one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right. The tightrope. Okay.
Tightrope.
Okay.
World
Love
Trade
his score for that. Ready Player One is a banger soundtrack. Say what you want
Okay.
about the film. The score.
I just watched that movie. I watched that whole movie thinking, where's Williams? It's Spielberg. I'm missing Williams. It was. So I kind of
Yeah,
got
I know
the movie-
enjoys life. Taking the time off.
I think he pulled out because he did another. He had to choose, and he did the Post.
Warhorse. Oh, the Post.
The
No, he didn't do
Post.
the Post.
Or a Star Wars. Was it?
John Williams something Star Wars. It was Star Wars
James
Post or something. I don't
Thomas
know.
Newman did the Post, right?
No, it was John Williams.
Oh, Bridge of Spies. That's what I'm thinking was
Yeah.
Thomas Newman. All right.
Another Alan Silvestri. The music he did for Cosmos, that sci-fi TV show.
I'll have to
It's
check
actually
that out.
pretty. I mean, it's
Okay.
4 albums. There's a lot of music, but there's some pretty cool
Like
stuff
the old
there.
Cosmos, like with Carl Sagan. Or
Yeah,
is it a
the-
newer? Or is it a newer
There was
one?
a remake. No, there was a remake.
Oh,
and
with
he did-
maybe
that was
with Tyson, with Neil deGrasse
Yeah.
Tyson. Maybe
that was
okay, I didn't see that.
2014. So I don't know. if
Okay,
you-
I'll try and give him. I was just struck me when we were talking about it. I was like, everything I like from him is from '97 and before. And
Also-
the only thing I can think of is that
The
First
Captain
Avengers
America
theme.
First Avenger,
I
2011.
like that
so
one.
that qualifies.
That's another one I'm
Not a
okay
fan.
with.
yeah, I like those.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm okay with.
Fine.
they're okay.
But the Mummy Returns for sure.
Yeah, that one at least. Is
Especially following Jerry Goldsmith's amazing score to the Mummy. Like, I wasn't looking forward to an Alan Silvestri score for the Mummy sequel, but I was like, oh, this is actually pretty great. Have you guys picked up anything recently or want to share? I know I kind of mentioned it in our DMs. Maybe we should save David for last because he says he's got something big.
Well, I've been good, and then I went on vacation, and I was not good. So
How many record stores did you hit up while you're over there?
well, strategically, only two because we didn't want to. I wanted to ship them home. So like I went to several and I was like, hey, would you ship some stuff if I bought, over $100 worth of stuff? And they were like, we don't do it, or, anyway. So it really worked out with two stores in particular. And I was with some friends of mine and he bought some too. So we like made a huge box for each store we were at. And one box is still floating in the air somewhere, which we're starting to get nervous about because it's like, that was kind of early in the trip, but I'm sure they're fine. They'll be here any minute. But in that box was a really nice version of John Carpenter's The Fog.
Okay.
Not the Waxwork version, the Death Waltz version, and it has like a opaque slip with green writing with the fog in the front. You pull it up, and then there's one of the pirates' faces.
Wasn't that one of the first like records sound? I don't know, one like on the cusp of like soundtracks on vinyl being a thing. Like wasn't that one of the first?
It's one of Spencer's. It's one of Spencer's big ones. I think that and Prince of Darkness and a few other Carpenter kind of. Escape from New York, I think, is their kind of big kickoff. But it was one of those things where it was 40 pounds, and I was kind of like, can I see it? And I looked at it, and it was clean, and I was like, I'm going to buy this right now. I was like, this is mine. And then I didn't feel like I could Discogs, like in the moment, to be like, hold on 1 second, I'll be right back. So I just kind of went with it. It wasn't so much, and I love to get a neat variant like that. But in that batch, and then I bought a bunch of stuff from at the movies, because it was it saved me a bunch on price in importing. So I got.
Did you finally get your Minari?
No, I didn't see Minari. I got Midsummer, which I'm really glad about because I don't like the audio version of the stateside one, and the Wicker Man, and I'm on kind of like this weird folk horror kick, like 60s British bizarro witch movies. I'm kind of on this weird jag about. So I've got that going. And then it was really neat because Record Store Day had just happened a week before. So it wasn't really, really fresh, but I got to kind of go through the Record Store Day releases that they had left over, which was quite a bit. And I found something from Silva Screen Records by Mark Isham called The Hitcher, which I know zero about, but a lot of my UK pals that I've met through Twitter were like, I can't find this, or I found it and I'm so glad. So I was like, that was kind of one I just went for because I heard good chatter about it.
Yeah.
The little small thing I got, I'm going to reach, sorry, that is not on the trip that came is, like I mentioned, I like Johnny Greenwood. This is let me get this there you go. This is a Power of the Dogs 7-inch. This is a single that was promotional only from Netflix. And this was put out in anticipation of the Oscar run. And so I saw this go up on eBay for like $40 or $50. And I was like, do I care that much? And then a bunch more came on eBay for $100. And I was like, oh, I really don't care now. I was like, oh, talk me out of it. And then another one came up for $40. And I went, okay, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy that right now. And I just love Johnny Greenwood. I'm a big Radiohead fan, my rock days. So when he started to do scores, it was like, oh, one of my rock dudes is into scores. So like that was kind of one of the ways I got into it, back into vinyl for soundtracks specifically is because of him. So I kind of just get anything from him I can.
Right. How about you guys? Pick up anything recently?
What's your favorite Greenwood score, David?
The Master.
Mm-hmm. Mine's Phantom Thread to me.
That's number 2.
That's
number 2. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them. I'm gonna have to download some of it.
Phantom Thread is just Phantom
Thread is very accessible. I would say some of his stuff, if you don't like things like strings going sometimes, like it's not for everybody. He kind of has more of a I think people reference Penderecki, if you're familiar with that composer. Like, and I would say Bernard Herrmann's more terrifying, terrible auditory abilities. Some, where things kind of hurt, and they work in the movie especially well. But like, I don't know that people be like, all right, there will be blood. This is really toe tapping. Like, it's not like that every time. But Phantom Thread is like lush orchestral quartet music that is very accessible. If you want one to try, I would really start with that one.
I'll do it tonight.
Mark, what do you got?
Anything new, like the newest thing that I have is Bloodsport, aside from pre-orders, but I derailed my own conversation, but I do have a couple more pre-orders. So I've got Rogue One by Mondo, their extended edition, so I'm very excited for that.
Me too.
Spider-Man No Way Home. I think it's already been released, but my pre-order is still in pre-order status for some reason, so I don't know why. I ordered a Bond. It was like a 3 LP. It's a best of Bond of some kind. I ordered it at the start of the pandemic, and
it's the one that was released on Amazon. I believe it is the theme songs.
I don't even remember. I just know I'm expecting it from England sometime in the last 2 years, and I think it's actually shipping in June finally. So excited for whatever the hell that is if it ever comes.
I want to say it's all 25
themes,
main title songs. So
I do love that about
because some of them don't appear on the records. So
yeah, that's right.
I do love that about the pre-order era. It's like I forgot. I totally pre-ordered Rogue One and I forgot. And sometimes things show up in the mail. I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't think. And I go look and then I open it. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, I have such great taste. I'm so happy this arrived in the mail.
So I'm going to mention this real quick because I did not pre-order Rogue One, but one will be coming my way as a gift from a friend of mine. And that is Mick Giacchino, who's Michael Giacchino's son, who is also a composer in his own right. He's doing work on AMC that I always get the title wrong. That Dirty Black Bag, I believe, is the title of the show, and he's done Extinct for Netflix and a couple other films. He did Turkey Hollow. I have an interview with him that's going to drop a week from today, so next Friday.
Nice.
That interview is done with. And a little bit of insight, he scored the Batmobile chase in the Batman.
Oh,
it wasn't his dad. So
cool.
Check out
that.
Check out that interview. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but there wasn't supposed to be any music for that. There wasn't supposed to be any music for that scene. And at the last minute, while Michael was doing Spider-Man, they decided to put music in. So Michael couldn't do it. He gave it to his son Mick, and so we talk about that.
Cool story.
Look for that. Look for that story in the interview in a week. There he is.
I'm dying.
So yeah,
it's crazy.
He told me, whatever you do, don't buy Rogue One off of Mondo. I'm like, okay, I won't.
Why?
And because I'm
it's
assuming
gonna be a
he's
gift.
sending it. I'm assuming he's sending it. But the thing is, that pre-order.
What if he's like, no, my dad totally screwed it. It's not good.
I have the other release, the
standard
Disney music. Yeah.
I've almost bought that several times, but when this came out, I thought, all right, this will be fine.
Yeah, and
that might still be available too. Might still be available.
But I'm assuming it's coming. So
I meant the expanded one. It might still be available for pre-order. There's been a couple things lately. It's more it sounds like they've got high numbers, which is great because people want it, they can get it.
Yeah. And then Paolo, have you mentioned any new things you've gotten recently?
I think I have, in terms of pre-order, all the same things you guys have. Dune, Rogue One, Queen's Gambit.
Falls.
No, not Rabbit Fall. I don't think I have another IMA bid.
I was really concerned about ordering that.
I have Austin Journey from Austin Wintory. He recently, I mean, if you guys don't know that soundtrack, it's like
Hmm.
Mount Everest of video game music. He's actually been like a gateway composer for me, like really discovering video game music. And it's so popular, that music, that 10 years later, he did a re-recording of the music with the London Symphony Orchestra. And it sounds super cool. And also really cool, he put a BTS, like 30-minute behind the scenes of the process of doing that. I think he did it in partnership with IGN. They have a video behind the scenes. You can also see behind the scene. So he did like a crowdfunding campaign, which is basically like, I'm only gonna press it once on vinyl, buy it now or not, and it sold really well. So I have that. And then, well, I recently got, I buy CDs too, and there's a misconception with vinyl. Oh, like I know, no, I like CDs too. They're different things. Like, I'm not here picking sides, you know. But I got the
Right.
Jumanji Entrada expanded, because if you listen, I think on both videos we've done, Jumanji has been like, if you could press something, what would it be? I obviously like this score a lot. I got the Matrix ones, which are great.
Oh yeah.
I also got the remixes. It's weird, the moving to one upside, but I got both of those. And then I pre-ordered the at the movies from Music on Vinyl of Hook, which got, I don't know if it's canceled or not. It's like we're like
the
postponing it
buy it
indefinitely.
now went away.
Yeah, it's like I got an email saying
indefinitely.
like, yeah, delay indefinitely. I'm like, well, I guess we're back at square one, which is I have not expecting this thing to exist. So now we're just.
Do you guys know Eric from the Cinematic?
Eric
Radio
Woods, yeah.
podcast. I was touting that, you know, because people were like, "Oh, this just came out," but I just had gotten Mondo, and I had commented. Someone was like, "Well, I bet this is going to sound great because it's for Music on Vinyl," and I really, really find that if I want something to sound the best, Music on Vinyl is my favorite, or at the movies, you know. But he was like, maybe not if it's sourced from the same materials that I think the expanded La La Land was. That there was some issues with the quality of the source that they pulled some of that stuff from, which I hadn't thought of. I was more thinking just the vinyl side. But yeah, so I wondered after he had said that, and then 2 weeks later you were like, "Well, it's canceled." I was like, "Oh, I wonder if the audio quality caught up with them or something. Maybe it's not good enough. I don't know, you know."
Maybe. But I mean, that's good if they're paying attention to that detail. They'd rather cancel it or delay it than put out a product that isn't great. Because everything I've received from them, I have a few David Arnold scores. I have Casino Royale. I have the Narnia score he did, and then Red Sparrow from James Newton Howard. They all sound phenomenal. They all sound really good. And I really kind of dig those outer sleeves they give you. those
poly sleeves.
Yeah.
I kind of huck those
in the way.
But I know that their artwork is more straight ahead and it's less flashy. But if it's something I want to listen to, like that's my number one goal, and they end up putting it out, I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna get that one. I'm gonna get it. And I'm a variant hog, so if I really love something, I'll get another variant of it. No problem. I'm not too proud not to do that. But
I'm gonna ask you a question to lean on your vinyl expertise, but isn't like I got rid of my PVCs from at the movies because I saw something about how they can damage your records like with heat or stuff.
I could speak from my own experience. So my X-Men First Class, it had kind of a foil finish, and that PVC it just sort of fused with it and ripped it off. So I've been dumping all of those.
I hesitate to get too far down the what do I do when I sleeve my records, because it's kind of particularly nerdy in a way that I don't think a lot of people love. But I get the MoFi sleeves for the inner sleeves, and I transfer almost all of mine to MoFi sleeves, and I put them in the back, and I don't exactly, and then I put them in the back. I mean, that's fine. I would keep that. I'm not going to get rid of that. I'm just not going to keep it in that. But then I get some nice poly resealable fold over flap ones, and that's really a holdover from my record store days. That's what we used at the store, and that's what I'm used to. It makes them look very clean, And if you don't mind
Pretty
handling
easy to
them to
get your
get in
hands
and out, well, it's got a sticky tab, so some people it really drives them crazy. They like the more open-ended, but I've just seen things go in open-ended sleeves sometimes, like water or whatever. So that's what I do. It's probably a little more than some people like to do, but that's what I roll with.
Well, let me shout out some Canadian companies then. So there's a sleeve company.
I'll be right back. I got to get my charger. Sorry.
Oh, you're gonna need to hear that. You're gonna need to hear this. So there's a company called vinylstoragesolutions.ca. So they have all those kind of products. So I basically ordered a whole bunch of stuff from them. They have great inner sleeves. They're as good or better than MoFi. They have these like pocket sleeves, which again is kind of conducive to this sort of style of storage. They have double ones. They have fold over ones. They have ones with the resealable kind if you really want to keep dust out, and they have extra thick ones too for any like a Lost type box set. So for me it's kind of the perfect option. So definitely check them out, and they're really good quality, and they're like they're crystal clear.
That Lost box set I got.
Vinylstoragesolutions.ca. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I'm just a lover of their products.
Not an ad. I was at that concert, that Lost concert.
That's pretty cool.
What?
Well, I wondered because Jorge Garcia's on that record, and I was just starting to think that. Plus, if you know Mick, can you kind of push some ideas upstream that we have around a box set of the original cues of Lost? Help us out with that.
I haven't heard anything. I can ask, and I'll keep you posted. But yeah, I was in Ireland. I was in Ireland for Jorge's wedding. Michael just happened to be there that weekend doing 2 concerts, and he's like, "You guys want to go?" And we're like, "Yeah." And there was a decision that came to me, which was, which concert do you want to see? Do you want to see the Lost one, which I'd already seen 3 times before, or he was doing a concert of his film music? And I said, well, I kind of want to see the film music stuff because I haven't seen that before. But because Jorge was in town and he was going to be able to read for the Lost concert, they did the movie concert the night of his wedding, and then the next night did the Lost concert. So I went to that one. But
that's really cool.
It's a great show.
Man,
yeah, it's a great
fantastic, show. You know.
But yeah, I had to get that record because I'm sure you can hear me clap. I'm like in the like 20th row. I think you can probably hear me.
I mean,
it's a must. For it.
It's can a must now?
Can you clap now so I can listen later and be like
compare?
This is like about how much I don't like to go like hoot or holler or like go too crazy. I like to keep it at a nice.
I'd be sweating my underwear on stage.
Because like that's the thing is like I've seen Williams at the Hollywood Bowl, but I'm going to see Williams the musician, and so when I see the Star Wars fans with the lightsabers, it drives me up the wall. Like I feel like I'm just like, you guys, please stop. Please let me just enjoy the music. But that's just me. So I don't get to go to a lot. There's not a whole lot of film score concerts out there. So
that's
when I get to go, I don't need to see people showing up just so they can light up their lightsabers.
And
I mean, that's
I have
fine
to
if
say,
you do it, but
if I ever move out of Los Angeles, that's the number one thing I'll miss is all the film score events you can find here. Like I saw going back to Birdman when that came out, the drummer did the score live for it in a really cool theater in downtown LA. And I don't know if you remember that he's like drumming solo right there to the picture. And it was fantastic. And also that movie starts with like this insane solo. Like it's like fade to black picture. And it's not, there's no warm up or anything. He's just like on a solo on a tear, and you're like, I don't know. Are we the same species?
Was he riffing on the same themes, or did you feel like, I don't know the Birdman score well enough to be like, if I sat down for that, would I go, this is a little different? Like, was he kind of like, this is the same kind of improvisation I did during this, or what was that like?
I mean, from the best of my knowledge, it's improvisational. He improvised those scenes, so I think he's improvising, but I didn't notice
again.
like like it's still like
the style of kind of.
he knows the texture he needs to create with the drums.
Gotcha.
The specific, is it note per note? No, but still, I mean the emotion.
What a neat experience though, because it would be fresh and a little bit different. Yeah, that's neat. That's neat.
Yeah, I actually missed out because but I think Johnny Greenwood did an event like that similar to, and I was like out of town.
Yeah, don't get me jealous now. I would love to do that.
Yeah, the last time I saw, I saw Elfman a couple weeks ago. He was doing
Coachella?
No.
You
It was the day after.
You see those pics of him just like shredded and shirtless, just wailing? I was like, man, this guy's. I just like to see people living, and he was just out there. I loved it.
I will say, if I ever get
following, it was the day following, and it was a concerto, and he kept a shirt.
Yeah. He did. Yeah.
So, sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, if I ever get like Elfman ripped, I will never wear a shirt. So I totally appreciate
exactly
that aspect.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
I have to say, I love his performance. I saw it from my Coachella, and I was just so excited for like the performance and also for like just people enjoying it. Like I feel like anytime film music. And it's not just for music, because I also like Oingo Boingo and his work and all that stuff.
He's a good crossover guy like that.
Yeah. But anytime there's like a spotlight in this side of town, I'm like, yeah, like it's great, like amazing. Like keep talking about Elfman. I'm all for it.
Right.
I'm just jealous of how spoiled you guys are with what you have available in your area, because I have to cross borders to see things like this.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't always like that. I grew up on an island, so the idea of attending these things involved crossing water. So
yeah.
We've been going for about an hour and 17. I don't want to keep you guys all night, but I definitely want to make sure that you guys get some plugs in. So I want to hear what you guys have to plug. If you have anything coming up on your channels or anything like that, let everybody know. Let's go with Paolo. We'll go clockwise.
So yeah, the channel Jigowatts, it's hard because I think it was like a year between my last like actual video. But I had a lot of fun doing the draft, the John Williams draft. Mark and David were there, and we were 5, and after that, we were like, who else? Let's keep this sort of party going. So I want to do more of those drafts and change it up. It's so hard because when we invited the 5 people and it was so fun. And then you're like, are you going to do another one? And then you want to invite more people. Like, but I also want to do so are we guys going to do like 20 people drafting? Like, are we going to get to that point? I don't know, but I'm going to do more of those. And in terms of those longer videos, I'm trying. I don't know. It's like I have scripts of videos. I just wrote one about Jumanji, and now I gotta sit for it for a month to be like, is this worth like? Do people care about this opinion? Is it well put out? Like, am I saying something interesting? And then is it something? So I'll sit with it. I mentioned to you, David and Mark, I have a hook video that's like I spent 2 months on it and then decided, nah, this isn't. I'm not gonna keep on. This is not that great.
But that's the thing is you can open up a conversation. Like even if you don't think it's great, someone's gonna think it's great. They're gonna want to talk about it in the comments and have a conversation, and it'll lead to more. I feel like just put it out there.
I know my point of view. My point of view was like I only have one shot of this because I'm not. If I spend 5 months doing a hook video, I'm not gonna spend another 5 months to make a better one. So I have to like get it right. I have to do it justice, and yeah,
just release it. Just release it as is.
Well, if it's anything like your last, if it's anything like your Clue video, and if folks haven't seen Paolo's, I'll brag about it for him. He has this great video analysis of Clue, which has got I think you're one of the best editors. Your design work and the way you use animations and stuff. I just love watching your stuff. So if it takes you a few months, put it out because I want to see it.
You want to hear a funny story? There's so much work that I like try to get the views wherever I can. And I told you guys before we jump in the call, I adopted a dog yesterday. At the shelter, the lady made a comment like, "Oh yeah, like the movie Clue." And it's like, "Oh, you love Clue video? Let me send you a link." And I like send her a link to my Clue video.
Word of mouth, baby.
You gotta do it.
That's right. That's right.
David, vinyl score.
I've been kind of quiet for the last 4 months for a variety of reasons. Work stuff. I was planning this trip, and I just felt like I got of sorts. So I have a lot of stuff coming. I have an interview with Ben Lovett that is a composer for some more modern horror stuff. I bought a ton of stuff of his from Mondo that they've put out. One in particular is called Broadcast Signal Intrusion, which is this beautiful noir jazz score. Anyway, he's going to come on the show. I'm going to do kind of an appreciation of his score and the composers that are operating at these levels that are for these indie movies. And it's just cool to have an indie guy who has a lot of vinyl out too. So I've got that going. I've got my last Twin Peaks review that's coming. I did Fire Walk with Me in January. So I'm going to do the third and final season of The Return. And I've got some guests that are planned for that too. And then I have a ton of scripts done that I'm planning on working on. But those are kind of the big things that I'll have coming soon. Plus a video that I'm editing right now with Mark and Paolo and I discussing potential oddball vinyl releases that we could see, that we would love to see done. Kind of wish list things that maybe there only needs to be 3 copies of because we want them. But and really fun. Yeah, really fun, imaginative kind of stuff in that. So that'll be coming out this month.
All right, awesome. And then Mark,
with me, I've been quiet for the last couple of weeks as well. I'm never going to be the person that puts out a video every week because I'll never be able to do that with the busyness of work and kids. But I do stuff in chunks. So there's a couple of videos. So I've got a hook one that I am working on just for the Mondo release.
5 months. Are you going to work on it for 5 months?
Well, and that's the thing. Like I debate. I'm like, well, this is already out for a while. Yeah. It's not even available anymore. Is there even a point in talking about this? But I just want to talk about it. It's cool. It looks cool. So I just want to talk about it. People won't be able to buy it unless they sell a liver on,
It might get repressed too. It might be coming down the pipe. Yeah.
So Hook, most of the ones that I talked about on pre-order, I want to do something for. And I'll tease it here. I haven't mentioned it anywhere else, but there's a different kind of video that I'm working on. It's not necessarily score related. It is Star Wars related. I'm going to have it up on my channel, but it's closer to like a documentary, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Maybe not even. I don't know. I don't know what it is yet. Nice. But basically, I took $1,000 and I bought Star Wars Episode 1 merchandise. So it's me going around various parts of my area, buying up any Star Wars, like Episode 1, like Phantom Menace merchandise.
Okay.
And again, I don't really know what this is, but
I'm intrigued.
I can't wait, man. What a great way to pitch it.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be like the Book of Boba Fett and me, why this is the new Godfather. And we're just going to really dive into it.
No, so I do talk about a little bit about just like my connection to the Phantom Menace, because I've always been a defender of the prequels, and I'm glad that they're finally getting some love now. And obviously with Obi-Wan coming out, I'm very excited.
Kenobi's around the corner. That's right. That's right.
So I think it ties in nicely to that. And I just got some interesting things that I was able to pick up that people have been holding on in their basements for 20 years.
There's a lot of merch for that movie too.
So one thing that I really wanted to get, but my wife would murder me if I got this. But somebody was selling a full pod racer arcade machine. Like it wouldn't.
I remember that machine.
I know who got it. I think I know who got it.
I doubt they bought it from Quebec.
What's that?
It was in Quebec, Canada. So
that's right.
But I was very tempted.
She's in the Bay Area by San Francisco. But,
Well, weren't these around though? Weren't these? I mean, there's more than one, right? Am I?
Yeah, yeah. There'd be tons
But if
of
this
them.
is in the last couple of months, a friend of my other show, Live Action Star Wars, recently ordered and bought a pod race sit down game.
Yeah, so you sit in a pod racer, and I was like, I really need this, but I could just picture that conversation with my wife, and
You look like you got room back there, though.
I
mean,
Yeah,
but it wouldn't fit down the stairs.
Oh,
shoot!
shoot.
It's
Break
massive.
that wall.
I could.
Paolo's thinking
take it apart and put it back together like Anakin.
Well, Mark, that sounds really cool, man. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, so
I'm
see.
into this premise.
We'll see.
So for me, I get one of these.
Ooh.
I know,
Wow,
fancy.
wow.
That's all the. Oh, this is live action Star Wars. This is totally the wrong one.
Oh,
Look at that. Well, you can follow
Kill it,
live action
kill it.
Star Wars if you want. This is the one you want. That's the one you want.
there you go.
But yeah, like I said before, I have an interview with Mick Giacchino coming up in 1 week from today. And then as soon as that Toho thing drops, Rodan, I'll have an interview that day. It's announced with the artist behind that, Henry Abrams. So those interviews are done. They're in the can already, and they're both great. So take a look on that. Thank you guys for joining me on my very first live stream. Hopefully it wasn't that painful. I'd like to have you all back someday. And yeah, thanks for chatting scores. So until next time, I'll catch you all on the flip side.
See you guys.
Pleasure.